There. Hi, everybody. Okay. It's a better presentation when you can hear what I'm saying and don't have to read my lips. So, hi. All right. This is about my fourth or fifth time speaking at Club E. I love the group, and you guys are great. Thank you for coming to this. Really, I want to get right into it here. Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in a while, if at all. You can ask. But right now, I want you to imagine something. Okay. I want to put you in a story. You're in the story, okay? Imagine that you are in a country that is not the United States and you don't speak the language. You're there by yourself. You're walking along and you sprain your ankle. And it's pretty bad and you're having a hard time walking. But you don't want to really let on to anybody that you've got this problem. You kind of want to deal with it yourself, but it just gets more and more painful as you go. You can't understand any of the signs. You can't understand what anybody's saying. You need help. And then someone comes along that speaks your language. Okay. And this person talks to you and says, hey, what do you need? And you follow them to, they get a cab for you. They get in the cab with you. They talk to the driver in the native language, but also talk to you in your language and get you to the doctor, to the hospital, and get you out there, get you checked in. And now you've made sort of a bond with that person and they've helped you out. Okay. So can you imagine that whole scene happening? Imagine again that same scene happening and you're in pain, you're needing something, and someone comes over to you and says, hey, let me tell you about the 16 years experience that I have with helping people out getting to the doctor. And I've got a way to do it. You can call, or you can take a cab, or maybe we could walk, or maybe I could, and let me tell you a little bit more about what I value and what I think are really important values when it comes to taking people to the doctor. I mean, would you go with that person? But that's a little microcosm of what happens a lot of time with business messaging. The person that you're trying to reach has a need, and they have an immediate need. They might not want to necessarily broadcast to everybody. They might not even quite even know. They know they have a pain. They don't even necessarily know what they need, and no one seems to be speaking their language. No one seems to be addressing what they need. All they're hearing is a lot of white noise with people talking about themselves. And so messages get lost, connections are not made, okay? And that is basically what we're talking about today. A message, I've been in the messaging business here for several years, and it comes, like Rob said, from reaching audiences with words in play form, and also working with lawyers on getting verdicts that are favorable. Everybody needs to understand things quickly. We all respond to simplicity. We all respond to clarity. Prospective customer needs to effortlessly understand what you do and why you do it in a matter of seconds. It's amazing how seldom that actually happens. But if you can achieve that, it's going to do these two things. It's going to reduce your customer acquisition costs, which I'll tell you about in a second here, and increase the lifetime value of a customer. They're going to get in there. You're going to have to spend a lot less time, energy, and money getting customers by just doing mass appeals to everybody, because the message will be clear and the right people will come to the surface, and the right people will then tell the other right people, and it costs you a lot less time and effort. So this is what I'm talking about. There are two parts to what they need to understand right away. They need to understand, if you looked at this as a quote, I can get this particular product or service here so that I can achieve a type of success. And to get it, I need to, okay, so I can get, financial advice here so that I can have the future I want. And to get it, I need to press this button that gets me into the person. Sometimes this little piece right here, this what piece, is really confusing to people. They don't understand what you sell. They don't understand how it's going to impact their success. And probably the one that is the most often the case, they don't have any idea how to engage with you. It's not simple. It's not clear. It takes them way too many steps to figure it out. So if that part needs to be clear, and then with regard to Simon Sinek. They need to understand who you are and why, who you are personality wise, what the core of your company is about, why you do what you do, like he says, so that they can trust you pretty quickly. They trust you or the rep that they're in front of because they share beliefs, purpose, or outlook, and they might share personality, humor, or style or something. And that part might not even be in words. That just might be in the images that you choose or the type of dressing that you put around the messaging. But they need to understand both of these things really pretty quickly, what you do and why you do it. And if they can understand that pretty quickly, there's a really good chance they're going to go to the next level of engagement with you. Not necessarily all the way to a sale, but they might go, "Ooh, these are the right people that are producing the right product or service for the right reasons. I want to know more." Okay? It seems simple enough. This is, of course, what we're all trying to do. But what I'm talking about here is a few little things that I can squeeze into half an hour here, 40 minutes, about how you actually do this. Because this all depends on using language well. It all depends on using language well in when you're cooking up the idea and figuring out how you want to represent your company. So the way you talk to each other, the way that the ideas that you throw around in the room, and then the language that you use when you talk to your customers. There is so much talking going on. There are so many words being thrown around and so little is really being communicated. Have you noticed that? Lots of talking and not a lot being said. So if you can rise above that, you're going to be noticed. This is a little self-assessment tool. I'm not expecting you to kind of understand this from the slide here because you got to spend some time with it. But this tool, the slide I just showed you with the two-part thing, and then this tool is on my website at asimplemessage.com. Remember the asimplemessage.com. And you can download this PDF and fill it out. So basically what this is it's a way for you to go through the money that you are spending on all of the different outlets you might have for marketing. You can see where there's everything from social media posts to your website to maybe podcasts or call to action page, newsletter, sales presentation as it moves down the funnel, okay? Estimate or maybe have exact numbers on how much you're spending on each one of those things. And then be super honest with yourself. Look at each one of those items, those pieces of marketing collateral and ask yourself, how clear would it be to somebody who does not know what you do already? We all think stuff is clear to us and the people in our office, but think of yourself or even show it to somebody who doesn't understand what you do already and say, is this clear? Do you know what I do and why I do it in seconds? Or does it take you a lot of effort to figure that out? And then rank those things 1, 2, 3. And see what you end up with. See how much money you might be spending on messages and ideas that just simply aren't clear and don't resonate. And I'll tell you, it's a waste and it's fixable. You can fix this stuff. You can if you spend some time at it, okay? So let's look at that just for a few minutes more. Here's basically what happens. People are curious, okay? They heard about you somewhere. Maybe it was a social media post. Maybe it was a referral from a thing like Club E, They're curious and then they go to something, they seek out some more information about you. So maybe they go to your website. Maybe back in the days of people doing live stuff, it might've been a trade show. They might you might do a presentation, elevator pitch, something like that. They're curious. Okay. So they're wanting to know what you've got for them. And then and what you're hoping is it's going to be like, okay, they heard about me and we close a sale. The next minute, it's all boom. Yeah, it worked out great. But that doesn't always happen, right? What happens instead sometimes is the interest falls off very quickly. You never even maybe knew that you had a prospective customer that was interested. They went to your website. There's no, other than analytics possibly, there's really no evidence that they were there. They just went away before you even knew. And there's a lot of reasons that happens. But a word that I kind of made up to sum this whole thing up was weemiitis. The weemiitis problem, which is, when you break it down, we, me, I, us. That's what people might be encountering when they are going to getting a first impression of your company and your service. It's a lot of, we do this and I do that, and here's more about me, and here's what matters to us. This is really, really all over the place. People are getting a little bit better at it. And I think last week, Rob says the speaker last month spoke about this, the idea of not making the customer the hero, which is a very widespread idea these days. But still, I'm looking at people's marketing material and seeing a lot of we, me, I, and us. Now, it's understandable that you would do that, because it seems like, well, hey, if somebody's curious about you, you should tell them about you. I mean, what else are you going to do? They're asking about you. By going to your website, in a sense, they're asking about you. They want to know about you. So why not tell about you? Well, the thing is yes, they might say they want to know about you, but they really just want to know what you've got for them, and they want it to be super clear. So if it's not clear, this is what happens. If you look at this little graphic here, all the messaging that's going on in your company is needing to go through these different channels. Okay, so on this one, I have online presence, sales presentation, and advertising, which is your sales, pieces of your sales and marketing. And then over on the other side, it might be things that you just want to be, get your name out, be a thought leader, executive presentations, podcasts, blogs, seminars that you might hold. Okay. If the message is totally unclear and not the same from point to point, you're going to have no click-throughs, no follow-up, no word of mouth, no action. You're going to have on thought leadership side, no following, no referrals, no trust, or a lot less of it than you would have had otherwise. You might have a little scattered, interest, but if the message is always unclear, it's going to be hard for them to take action. Whereas, of course, if it is clear, all of that starts to reverse. Now, the reason that I have had kind of taken this on as a thing that I want to do with businesses is I've had this problem myself in the past. I went from being a theater artist, so actor, director, playwright, and doing all that at a professional level, Guthrie, at Children's Theater, Park Square, had my own Shakespeare company for a while, one-person shows, lots of that, and then transitioned over into the business community about 12, 15 years ago. And man, did I have a hard time explaining what in the world I had to offer anybody. Because they were like, theater guy, what are you going to do? Make us be actors? I don't understand. What? We don't want to be actors. And it took me quite a while. I had a big case of that unclear message, and I didn't really understand what I had to offer. So it took some kind of digging down deep and figuring it out and talking to lots of people, and a lot of time and effort went into just clarifying it, that I want to help people with that problem. I want to help people get through the clutter, clarify for themselves who they are and what they have to offer, and then communicate that simply and quickly in words, just like I was able to do really pretty well with audiences in plays. In my one-man shows, I would spend years writing, or months at least, writing those things, and then just speak them to an audience, and they would, oh yeah, I understand what this is about. But there's a huge amount of work that goes into that to make it sound and be effortless for an audience. Your customers, your prospective customers, are an audience. They need to be engaged the same way an audience in a theater does, with thoughts and feelings, as well as feeling like you're speaking to a need that they have. So if you can get it clear, hopefully this is more what happens. They're curious, they get more curious, they get more engaged, and boom, you close a sale. It all, one piece of it all leads to the next piece of the process, one step after another. So here's getting into the whole idea of the bridge. Okay, so you have on the one's bank, the customer, on the other bank, your company. In between is a gap potentially where they, like it says here, I need a product that helps me, and I want a company I can identify with. And you're over here going, this is what we do, and this is why we do it. Now, you can know that stuff and everything internally, but if there isn't an idea expressed in words, the customer never gets that and they never engage. So here's what we do and why we do it, expressed in a clear, unique idea. These are two famous examples on the bottom. Wheaties is a breakfast cereal, and it's really nothing special. It's bran flakes. It's sort of unsweetened bran flakes in a box, right? But we have been told for almost a century that it gives you superpower athletically. They decided their angle was going to be, we're all about aspiring athlete, like ordinary couch potato people who want to be an athlete. We're going to say, you eat this breakfast food, you'll be a champion athletically. Now, there's of course no evidence of that, but it doesn't need to be, because they've got this fantastic phrase, the breakfast of champion, that makes us see ourselves in their product achieving a certain kind of almost unattainable goal. But it might be a little more attainable with their product. 10,000 songs in your pocket was the original tagline for the iPod. Instead of just calling it an MP3 player that has all this technology and boy, oh boy, it has quite a memory and blah, 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 that's not going to engage anybody but the hardcore technophiles. Steve Jobs calls it 10,000 songs in your pocket. So just like, oh, well, I want that. I have songs all over the place. They're on, at that point, cassettes and CDs and whatever, records. I want them in my, I can have 10,000 songs in my pocket. That's something I want. A little story in a phrase that's a phenomenal idea that connects this company with this customer, okay? So I've developed this thing that I call the simple message framework, or the message creation framework. We take apart that whole bridge thing into these different pieces. Who is your ideal customer? Right now, you probably have an idea of your ideal customer being somebody who is a demographic. Who is your company? Right now, you might have a list of services and products that you offer, but okay, what ties it together? And then what is the idea that makes you singular and different from the other people in your same space? And then how do you express that in words? You've probably heard, and I think last month's speaker talked about this too, Donald Miller's Building a Story brand, where you see yourself as the guide. We all know about this now. Use the customer. The customer is the hero. You're the guide getting into success. This is not his graphic, because I don't have, really the rights to his graphic, but I also think that his graphic is a little counterintuitive. So I made this one, the ideal customer is trying to get to success. They can see it, they can feel it, they know it's there, but there's a wall in the way. So they look for help to get around that wall and over to success. Your company is up here being able to see and understand the customer and see and understand the success, and give them the way to get around their obstacle and over to success. If your marketing can be positioned like that, you'll be immediately understandable and relevant to a customer, rather than just another person talking about themselves and all of their products and services, okay? So let's look for a second at how that manifests on a website, for instance. Here's a really good example of just a really super generic kind of nothing business talk website. We help small business owners design and execute sustainable growth strategies to take their business to the next level. Fine, but who cares? And what is that? How is that really? I need to know so much more even to get started. It's not telling me much of anything. It's so wide open and so general, and in a lot of kind of cliche business talk, execute sustainable growth strategies. Does anybody really know what that is? I want to kind of get rid of the word execute and all of that, and this phrase, get to the next level, because everybody says that stuff and it's lost all of its meaning. It doesn't really, the words get worn out after a while. Here's another one this is a global financial company, as it says. But it's not telling me much of anything besides we have an awesome photographer that took a great picture in, I don't know, maybe somewhere in Asia, maybe could be New York, could be, who knows where this is, but it's not, again, they're high power, but are they really telling me much? I have to dig to find out what they really do, because I personally don't have global financial problems. I only have my financial problems, and they're telling me that they can do all this stuff that I don't need, in this one sentence. And of course, I'm sure it feels great to them to say that, but what are they telling me? As opposed to a much better example, I love this one so much because it's just so clear. Goodbye junk, hello relief. That's what they do. You've got junk, we've got relief, And I love this, how this picture puts their guys in the background blurred out. They've got their customer in the front happy. Think about how easy it would have been to reverse this picture and have their guys, their service, the thing they do up front with the customers back here like an afterthought. That you've seen that kind of picture many times before, but they did it this way. And now that they've done it, you go, well, of course it's obvious. Yeah. Well, it isn't. When you come up with this stuff, it isn't obvious at first. You have to kind of work at coming up with it. Here's my friend Juliet Funt, who has a business, a consulting service out in California. You can tell right away what this is. Execute. Here's the word execute again, but whatever. Execute faster and better by defeating busy work. Right there, you know what you're going to get. You know who the hero is. You know who the villain is, the busy work. And then it tells you a little bit in more kind of like nuts and bolts language, what they actually do. Programs to drive higher performance, waste less time, make more meaningful work. So it's telling you a lot more specifically what this company is about in really short amount of words, okay? So I'm going to get back. I'm kind of going faster so we get through. I just have a big example that I want to give you and make sure I have time for that. So the 4-part thing here, your ideal customer, engaging with a company, your company, because of a compelling idea expressed in clear words. Let's look at some famous examples again. This is 4 words that says so much about who they are and who they're trying to aim for. This one, you're in good hands. They could have come up with anything. It could have been cheap policies. It could have been, fantastic coverage. But they came up with a visual image that seems to say, we care about you, you're safe, in 4 words. And then this one, a classic, an eternal classic. The Marines does not say, really difficult, dangerous conditions. They say, the few, the proud. So you go, well, I'd like to be in the few and I'd like to be in the proud. I mean, it immediately speaks to a visceral need to be a part of that thing. And it also says, we're kind of exclusive. This is not for everybody. In 4 words, these would not be legendary taglines if they weren't so well thought out so perfectly. Now, here's the deal though. We were just talking about this in the breakout room. You can fail trying to be simple. I was talking about a real estate company locally that I'm not going to say who it is because who knows, but because I can't remember exactly who it was, which is already a bad sign. But they've gone to this 2-word tagline, move forward. And I looked at it on a sign and I went, well, okay, that doesn't really tell me much about, that could be anything. That could be a trucking company. That could be a lot of things that move forward. That tagline is dependent on having this other picture or this other idea next to it. Otherwise, you don't really know what they're talking about. So it's sort of a delicate balance with coming up with the right words. So here, I'll give you this example. This is a company that we all know locally that I'm working with currently. So this stuff that I'm going to tell you about is so new that they haven't even put it into their marketing yet. But I'm going to tell you the story of what we did to come up with what will be, hopefully, a really widely used tagline of theirs. Now, I want to also say, I don't just come up with taglines. There's a lot more to messaging than just a cool tagline. I'm kind of doing taglines in this presentation because it's crystallized and simple to talk about. But there's a lot of layers of understanding, like there's not just the frontline marketing. There's also, once they go to like page 3 of your website, is that message clear? Is your internal messaging clear just between you and your own employees? You can have one compelling idea that has multiple ways of being expressed in multiple social media posts. So it's not always just one tagline. But the example I'm about to give you here is more about developing that, because that's what they wanted. So they started out going, all right, our ideal customer is, they wanted to say, women, usually it's women. It's not always women, but it's a lot of times like a mid-30s female who maybe lives in the suburbs and has not an excessive amount of a disposable income, but enough to spend on furniture. Okay. So they defined this person largely by demographics only. And they said, hey, we're a company that has, lots of stuff. And they didn't really have a clear idea. So their marketing has defaulted often to just coupons and discounts. Get them in because, hey, this weekend only, 25% discount, stuff like that, which is really, really the hardest way to go. And there's no message in that. It's not a message to say we have a discount, It's not telling me anything about this company, and millions of companies that do this. It's not telling me much about what that company, how that company distinguishes itself in terms of personality or anything. It's just saying, hey, you could pay more, but we're going to offer it to you for less. And so we're always competing on price. It's just so darn difficult, So I said, all right, let's talk about your customer. And because your marketing is all kind of oriented toward this person who is, concerned with price, and maybe they go, am I looking at this brand, or do I want this brand or this brand or this brand of couch? They might be considering 3 brands of couch, and BECKER's really good at, once you show up there, they're going to tell you about those 3 kinds of couches and help you decide on which of the 3 that you're going to buy. But if you think about that on this buying journey, that's way up here, almost at the end of the process. So there's a great book called Demand Side Sales, which everybody has to read because this is one piece of that, something that he gets into in that book, Demand Side Sales. Bob Moesta, I think, is the author. There's a much longer buying journey for customers. We all have that. You go, I have a problem. It does, in their case, it's not necessarily that the customer goes, I want furniture. Their customer goes, I don't like the feel of my living room. It's too dark in here. It just seems kind of depressing in my living room. So that's a whole big wide open problem that might have something to do with furniture, but there might be 100 ways to solve that problem. It's not necessarily furniture. That's the first awareness. You're just thinking you have a problem. Then you might go, well, what are the ways that possibly I can solve this problem? I don't really know anything about furniture. I'm kind of, not great at deciding on how to match colors, and I'm kind of freaked out because I want this result, a better feeling living room, but I don't have any idea how to start doing that. And that customer might go all kinds of different ways before they decide they need to go to BECKER. So I said, why don't we put our emphasis, since you already got this part covered, let's put some emphasis on getting to that customer, which is guys like me, okay? They're guys like me who are, maybe in your beginning to look at the later years of your life and going, well, and in my case, relatively recently, living on my own again, like, I don't have any of these skills and I'm the perfect customer for BECKER. But if their marketing is oriented to the person who's already thinking about price and stuff, I don't know what to do. So I said, why don't we look at that person and try to unpack that? Okay. So your ideal customer in this, okay, ignore this for now. Your ideal customer is, I left a slide out, sorry. Just a minute. Okay, the regular ideal customer when they're just beginning to think about improvements to their home. Okay, so we're going to talk about that being now their ideal customer, the person who's just trying to think about their improvements that they might make to their home. So then we move on to the company right here, and their company. I said, what does your company have to offer? And we just made a list, and they went, okay, we have an easy process. We've got a lot of options. Our floor reps are designers. Our prices are great. We've got beautiful showrooms, and we're local. And they wanted to put all of that in the message somehow. And I went, no, you can't have all of that in the message. It's just going to be a confusing message. Plus, a lot of these things are kind of what everybody in your space is saying. Our prices are great. So what? There may be great this weekend, but maybe the other guy has a better one next weekend. We have a lot of options. Well, if there's one thing we know about the consumer is that they're actually overwhelmed by options, especially consumers like this guy down here. Overwhelmed. Why give them all these options when you don't, that's not necessarily going to help matters. So I went, why don't we try to think about all these and go, which do we want to be the dominant characteristic of your company? Not eliminating the others, but just saying which one is the dominant. And we agreed that to reach that particular customer, hang on a second, sorry. Just a second here. Let me shut this off. Sorry, you guys, technological stuff going on. Right there. Okay. And back here. Right there. Okay. So if we have this be the dominant idea, our floor reps are designers, this idea is going to that's going to appeal to this customer that we've decided we have down here. Okay. So we go, our customer is this person. This is what we want to feature about our company. And then the idea becomes, we can help you know how to improve the feeling and look of your living space, rather than the idea being, we can sell you a couch for cheaper than the other guy, or we have 30 million options for couches. We make one single idea. We can help you know how to improve the feeling and look of your living space, because the floor reps are also designers. They're going to be able to answer your questions intelligently. And then instead of trying to make this the phrase, which is kind of clunky, that's just the core idea. The actual phrase we decided to use was this: make it happen with BECKER. So this person, in their idea, this person down here wants to make something happen and doesn't know how to do it. They come here and they get a designer that helps them make it happen. That idea is expressed in this phrase, which can then be coupled with other things like this. This could be a billboard. Great ideas, but limited skills. Okay. Oh yeah, that's me. I got a great idea and limited skills. Make it happen with BECKER. Okay. Dreaming of the ideal living space. Yeah, I'm dreaming of the ideal living space and I have no idea how to make it into a reality. Well, make it happen with BECKER. You have a vision and now you need a guide. That's right. That's me. I got a vision, but I don't, make it happen. So this is how we came up with a way to continually get the exact same idea across to the customer. And of course, not alienating our other customers who are closer to the buying process either. We're just broadening the field of who we're talking to with a more unique idea than we have cheap prices this weekend. And I feel very strongly that if you narrow the idea and narrow the messaging, you're going to reach a wider audience. This is all in Seth Godin stuff all over the place. Seth Godin, marketing guru. He hates being called marketing guru, but he is anyway. About narrowing the smallest viable audience, the smallest amount of people that you can reach with the accurate message that's meaningful to them. Probably what's going to happen then is they're going to share that message with all the other right people, and you can spend a lot less time, money, and effort trying to talk to everybody all the time. Okay. Here's another example from another type of business. This is Arcona, my good friend Ryan Tansom. I've worked with him for several years on focusing this service. His company had been being confused for being just a growth and exit, or just an exit planner. And before that, just a financial planner, because it's all kind of wrapped up in the same thing. And he goes, well, no, we're doing so much more than exit planning, and definitely a lot more than financial planning. So what are we doing? Well, we really started to think about who his customer really is. And it's business owners or entrepreneurs who have some kind of a direction they want to go, but they don't have the financial knowledge to get to the destination that they're going, which might be exiting, but it might be a whole bunch of other options too. And his company can help those people clarify which direction they're really going, so that ultimately they have choices, instead of it being like all about exiting or all about kind of garden variety financial planning. So he wanted to come up with one word or phrase that would summarize all that. Now, again, this is not a tagline. This is the concept in 2 words. And we came up with intentional growth. So that means you can grow toward exit, or you can grow toward ESOP, or you can grow toward selling to, your son. You can do whatever you want. You can grow toward not selling the company at all, but the intentional piece of it is what's important. And that word has absolutely clarified his company and how people perceive his company. It was much more difficult when he called it growth and exit, growth and exit, growth and exit, because they kept seeing that word exit and going, well, I don't want to exit. But when we removed that, but made it about intention, that word changed everything. I mean, it's also a brilliant business. He's the hardest working guy I know. He and his partner, Pat. So that's what we did. And now his new website, which I think he just told me is going live today, the new homepage, has a very, very clear, this is not intended to be a tagline. It's more of a, here's what you get here. Clarify your path to a more valuable business and turn your vision into a reality. Okay. And then this is training that brings focus and progress, so you can create wealth, enjoy work, have an impact. And then this piece at the bottom, you've risked and sacrificed a lot. So people reading, the right customers reading this go, yep, I have. It shouldn't be this difficult to make progress toward your goals and get good advice from people who get it. So that phrase right there, I keep touching the screen, sorry. That phrase right there sums up how it feels to be not with a direction. It's difficult. It shouldn't be this difficult. And then why do all the people I ask advice from seem to not really get it? So another kind of an emotional layer to the problem that they've articulated in this one little phrase down here. Putting together these phrases and these word collections in one compact visual like this took a lot of revision and thinking and crossing things out and trying again and all kinds of, it looks like it's very obvious, but there's a lot of strategy going on here on this, so that you can look at this. And if you are the right customer, you go, this is absolutely for me, and I need to press this register now button. So this is a good example of you have a pretty clear idea of what they do and why they do it, and then how to engage with them. So that's a lot that I've crammed in a really short amount of time. I think we're rolling up to question time here, Rob, right?
Yes, sir. You got a couple.
Okay. And I'm going to real quick before I'm just going to put this up. For you guys right now here, I come to my website, asimplemessage.com, and click the schedule consultation or the get resources button. And you can send me a couple pieces of your highest volume marketing piece. This is all for free, just send me a couple things. It could be your homepage, could be a piece of a sales presentation, could be an ad, could be anything. We'll talk for 30 minutes just about what I see in it, like not trying to fix it necessarily, but just saying, look, this is what I feel is being communicated by this. And then maybe a few ideas that you could put in place to clarify it a bit. And we can talk further if you wanted to go further beyond that 30-minute talk. Okay. So I'll leave this up for you to write that down. And Rob, hand me the questions.
All right. Well, we got for our first one here. We'll go from Martin. What do you recommend about reducing the use of jargon and internal terms to clarify the message?
Well, don't use don't use jargon and internal terms. Does this person mean that is what's currently in their message? If they're on the line, they can chime in.
Yeah, hey, Martin, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and then clarify the question for us, please.
It's just that a lot of times you're reading something and I get lost in words that I don't understand. So I don't even go any deeper into whether or not that person who's trying to reach me can actually help me. So
yes, yes, that's really pretty much a number one. Do not do it. The only exception I would say is unless you know that the only people you want as customers are those who understand that particular jargon. And sometimes that's what people want. They want to kind of exclude people who don't understand the language. Sometimes really deep, dense IT or technical companies kind of do that on purpose, but for most of us, it's a big cardinal sin because you're eliminating you're eliminating people that could be customers. And so the way around that, which is more complicated than I can get into in a couple minutes or in a couple seconds, is like I said earlier in here, is identify what they're really looking for. What is your customer really looking for? Not just looking for out of the service with you. What wakes them up in the morning? What's on their mind? What are they really searching for? And what are they trying for in terms of their macro version of success? If you can speak about that in your messaging, that should come out as a pretty simple statement. I mean, that's that whatever they want is more important than working with you. They're not getting up in the morning going, oh, I want that particular service. They want something else. So address that in the messaging, and it usually will cut through the jargon.
Hope that helps you there, Martin. Next question we had was from Steve. What are some examples of engaging words that connect a small business owner around gaining clarity, becoming profitable, or just making a difference? I'll give you it. I think we touched on one example, David. You don't like the word execute or get to the next level. What are some examples that we should be including along those lines?
For small businesses?
Yeah.
Well, I would ask then for small businesses, talking to whom? We kind of need a little bit of an audience or a customer.
Okay. Steve, are you still on the line? Let's see here. No, it looks like Steve had a drop off here. So, I think that, goes back to the idea that, words are critically important. And, do you have any examples of impactful words that resonate with somebody, an audience, whether it's small business or anybody in general, that you would kind of gravitate towards?
Oh, it's so much easier to talk about ones I would gravitate against. But just in the examples that I gave already, I could sort of unpack why they work. Is like the one I just gave about BECKER. Make it happen with BECKER is nice and open-ended, but it speaks to kind of a primal need to have a result. It's not using, I think the thing that I want to just put out there is that it's sometimes easier to come up with longer or more kind of clunky words like achieve or manifest or something like that, rather than just make it happen. There's a reason why we went with that and didn't make it be like, coordinate. I actually started out going like, we should have the message be coordinate your vision with BECKER or something like that. And they went, yeah, the word coordinate is too clunky and too long. And our customers that's not going to speak to our customers. I was like, it was collaborate. That was what it was. Collaborate. I said, we should have it be like collaborate with designers at BECKER or something like that was one of the earlier ideas. And they went, no, collaborate is that sounds too elite or something. It doesn't sound right. So I had to kind of, what I thought would have been a good word, they checked me and said, nope, that's a word that might work with a different type of business. Like I work with law firms or arts organizations or something. That's going to be a resonant word with them, but not with their furniture customers. And they went, and I was like, yeah, you guys are right. You're right. We need to take that word down to be something that's just a lot more plain language. Because most people don't go around going, honey, would you like to collaborate on dinner tonight? You know? So that's a kind of a long answer to that, I guess.
No, I think it's great. I think, the idea of keep it simple, right? And
Yeah.
it fits exactly with what you're looking for. And sometimes it's hard because we think we do all these great things, and we do, but it doesn't matter what we think, right? So
Yeah, if it doesn't, yeah, you always have to be thinking. That's why the first question I asked about that question was, who's the audience? You can't, none of this works in a vacuum. You have to always be, every message has to be directed at an audience. Otherwise, it's just talking to yourself, you know?
sure, for sure. Well, David, I appreciate all the great wisdom you shared with us today. And we'll go ahead and for everybody in the audience here today, we'll send out your resources here, and looking forward to connect with you soon. I appreciate it, David.
All
Thanks,
right, you
everybody.
bet. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.